Hey, it's Mike Henry. I hope everyone is doing wonderfully today. I'm doing wonderfully because I have my friend Chris Tallman joining me.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing, Chris? You got to hold the
Hi.
mic.
Mike.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Nice
Awesome.
to be here.
Yeah, don't get it too close. It might shoot on you. That's sick. It's supposed to be a family show. Actually, not really.
Is it really a family show?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, not at all. Not with these things.
Naughty, naughty.
Well, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to see you. I don't think we've seen each other in person in like 20 years.
Since you left.
Yeah. So way back in the day, I met Chris at Channel 101 through Steve Agee and Dan Harmon, Rob Schrab, and similar degenerates. And
A lot of degenerates.
yes, we were all
Mainly.
degenerates and still are. But yeah, so we met, and you were doing Time Belt,
Right, and
which is awesome. And
Did AG bring you guys in or to Channel 101?
he did. He told us about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we just submitted, and
And it was great.
got in there. It was great
Kicked in the Nuts. I feel like I remember Kicked in the Nuts as being like, of all the shows, that was the one I was like, oh my gosh, that's just a show. We're all sort of like playing at what ifs, but to me, I was like, no, that's already it.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
Of course,
It was
it
a
was
little repetitive. Same joke, a lot of different ways of getting at it, but we enjoyed it. And check out kickedinthenuts.com because we can't post the clips on YouTube because they take it down. They think it's real. They think it's assaulting people. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So yeah, but then Time Belt. Time Belt was cool, and everyone loved Time Belt. You
God
like
bless you.
captured our hearts. It was sort of. Tell me the genesis of Time Belt. It was like a belt that
Yeah.
allowed you to travel through time.
That was it. Literally, I feel like one day in an improv
It was like a
show,
wrestling belt. It was like a big.
It was
it
a-
looked like a big.
It was
prize belt.
my belt that I covered in tinfoil, and then I knew because it was a sci-fi show, it had to have some kind of like Buck Rogers looking thing. So it was 3 pieces of cardboard: a small circle, a medium-sized circle, and a big circle, and they were red, blue, and yellow because primary colors.
Primary, yeah.
And I can't think of anything else. And I would just pretend to twist it when in fact it was just all hot glued together.
Right.
And then I would put in the sound effects of my microwave beeping every time to make it seem as though I was programming the
I
belt.
haven't seen it since then.
Yeah, it's very lo-fi. It's as lo-fi as you get.
I know, but that's the beauty of it. That's it.
Yeah.
You're pretending, but you're not pretending too hard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I watched stuff like Channel 101, and I think maybe even a lot of stuff on the internet, I think the spirit of it is, well, of course, if we had $1 million,
100%.
it'd be different.
Yeah.
But as long as you have kind of the heart and the spirit
Right.
genuine,
Yes.
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then, like the Lonely Island, I remember did an episode of a show where the premise was it was supposed to be like it was called The Boo, so it was like Malibu
Oh, yeah.
sexy soap.
Yeah.
But they shot it in a room like this, and they would just have a piece of cardboard behind them that said "The Beach."
Right.
And as an audience, you just knew, ha ha ha, of course.
You made the buy.
Yeah, because we're all dirt poor.
Right.
And we get together in this room once a month and show each other our funny videos.
Yes. And so Channel 101 was this, you made a 5-minute or up to 5-minute TV episode, and you would show it, and it was what you're talking about, everyone just being very resourceful, all up-and-comers, people trying to establish themselves and just make what they could afford to make.
Yeah.
And then the crowd would vote on the top 5, and
Yeah,
those were the shows that were picked up for the following month.
Right,
And then,
exactly.
So you had a month to make another one.
Yeah, and the fun I think of it was the live audience really had a huge like ratings. The audience said, "We want this again."
Yes.
And so there's no better, especially when you're learning how to make stuff and act and compose and all that stuff. Like there's nothing better than sitting in the audience and going, "Oh, they don't like this at all."
Right. It's
Oh.
it's a one step removed from stand up where you're not actually getting it in your face because you're amidst the crowd watching their reaction to what you've made.
But I don't know about you, but like those the highs, the laughs are always great, but those lows when you're sitting in the audience and you feel it not working, it really is just like, I wish I could dissolve.
I know.
I would like to just go down a drain in the floor
Yep.
and not have to make eye contact.
Or you wish you could really turn the knob on your time belt and go forward or maybe backward to fix whatever
Yeah.
it is that didn't work.
go back a month and appear over myself in my bed and go, don't do the one about the kid in the closet.
Right.
That's going to be a bummer.
Right.
People are not going to be psyched about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And then, so Yeah, that was right around the time life called me back to the East Coast for family reasons. And so, yeah, I took off. And then, fortunately for me, actually, Family Guy had been canceled at that point. Fortunately for me, it came back a year later. So I was able to have a career and kind of be bi-coastal and stuff.
Were you ever doing Family Guy while you were on the other coast?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What a great gig is that? You were COVID before COVID.
You're right. It's true. And and so I would just be on a speaker for table reads, and I would go to the studio locally and record. And I mean, that's the beauty of animation that's a great thing about acting in animation. You don't have a call time where everyone's got to be there and makeup and everything else. Hey, can you be at a studio sometime in the next 2 weeks and record for a half an hour? Yeah. I can do that from anywhere.
Does it matter if I have a Big Mac sauce all over my face?
No.
Oh, well then, yes, I will. I will be there.
Yeah.
Sometime within the next 2 weeks.
That's right.
Fine.
That's right. Special sauce.
That's right. Do you love the voice stuff? You've been a part of it for so long. Do you feel like, is it so comfortable you can just slide right, like you can walk right in, just do it?
Yeah, pretty much. The characters that I created most of the characters that I do. And then others on a table read, like the other day I played Mark Twain on a Family Guy table read.
Fun.
So not to blow anything, but they do. They wrote an episode where Brian and Stewie go back in time, and they bring Mark Twain to the present, and comedy ensues. But yeah, so I got to play Mark Twain, which is just kind of a folksy old guy, just a different time.
Beautiful hair. So beautiful head of hair.
I know, but no, it's okay.
All right.
It's acting. So usually for the tables, I'll practice a little bit ahead of time if it's a character I've never played, and I usually just assign real people to characters. People from my life. And it gives them an authenticity.
Yeah, and because at least I think playing it, your brain knows, if I'm doing Jenny, she always does that lilt.
Exactly.
And it's built into you as like it's a person.
And it usually just clicks when you read it. It's like, that's that person. And
that's so cool.
Yeah. Do much voice work?
I do.
You act all over the place. I was looking at your IMDb.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're just in tons of stuff. I'm like, I want to do all that stuff.
It's super fun. I mean, it's a process over years, but yeah, I have a weird niche where I've been on a number of medical shows as someone who really gets the shit kicked out of them, but not dead. Like, there's something I'm like, the audience enjoys me. Like, a lot of times I'm kind of like the funny storyline. So, but it really is just like, you go and you get the mold taken of your face.
Right.
And then you come on to set and they're like, okay, so in this one, we're going to peel the skin off your head. And you're like, how is this going to be on television?
So what show, give me a show or two.
I was on House. I was on the season finale for the second season of House that was directed by the guy who created it. So, and it was, spoilers, kind of a murder mystery episode where House was always kind of like a Sherlock Holmes avatar. So they brought in a character called Moriarty, played by Elias Koteas. Do you know him? He's a great character actor. Usually plays heavies. And so he's playing Moriarty, and then I'm like the weird health case. And what happens at the beginning is House gets shot. So he's in the hospital with me. So he's trying to figure out why Moriarty shot him. And my tongue keeps swelling up. My eye pops out of my head on camera. My scrotum explodes. I mean, it is rough.
Wow.
At the audition, it's like this.
Right.
And I'm doing the scrotum explode scene. And so at the end, you have to act your scrotum exploding.
Right.
And the producer who's sitting where you are, he's like, your scrotum is exploding. Really? Like,
right.
And so I'm in a room like this, and there are 14 other dudes waiting to audition for this part right past that glass pane door. And every one of us is, I'm not going to do it now, but every one of us is going,
That's awesome.
I guess, and apparently I gave the most scrotum authentic scream. I don't know.
I knew we should have had you on Kicked in the Nuts.
Oh, well, I don't know if I had survived.
It was only a matter of time. If I didn't have to leave town, maybe we would have. So you grew up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, just like, Wisconsin, the Zucker brothers, Jim Abrams. So we were talking a little bit before we started rolling here. Were they an early influence on you? Like, tell me about when you were a kid. When did you first start performing or have a knack for it? What's the first stuff that you remember seeing on TV or movies that inspired you? And how did you start out being a comedian and an actor?
As a young kid growing up in Wisconsin, so probably like around, I was born in 1970, so I'd say by like mid-late 70s, that's when I all of a sudden simultaneously kind of become aware of like Saturday Night Live, specifically like Aykroyd and Jane Curtin doing the news and them doing that point counterpoint.
Yep. Jane, you're ignorant slut. Yeah.
I don't know. As a kid, hearing an adult calling another an adult a slut on TV blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents would let us occasionally stay up to watch it. And I remember when that would happen, I would just run around the room being like, what is the world? This is incredible.
That's hilarious.
And so around that same time, Monty Python would air Saturdays on the local PBS at like 10.
Okay.
And again, around that same time, because it was, Monty Python and BBC, occasionally there were boobs on the show. And I remember
Benny Hill. I remember Benny Hill with boobs.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid being like, someone at the TV show has fallen asleep,
right?
And they are putting pornography on,
right?
But it's funny,
yeah.
And I will not tell my parents about it.
No.
Rather, next Saturday at 10 p.m., I'll be right here.
That's right.
So that was a huge influence, and then, like you're saying, the Zucker brothers. Because when does Airplane come out? 80?
I think it was 80.
Such a pervert. But yeah, all of those.
So you didn't do any kind of like little school theater or anything?
Not until high school. I was scared. Like I said, I was scared. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I had a very like internal fantasy life, like comic books and all that stuff.
Right.
But it wasn't until high school, summer school, they offered theater, and I was like, I automatically get to be in the theater by taking this summer school class. So did that, and my mom was happy because I was in summer school and not at the house watching. Really? At that time in Madison, again, so this is like high school age, so it's like 84, 85, 86, found this improv theater, joined, had my first show, had the worst performance experience of my life. My first improv show, went on stage, did not speak the whole show.
You were shy.
I let that shyness. It's funny. I was just talking about this with a friend, and I just let that shyness.
It won.
I froze, and I remember thinking at any point I could have talked, but I just felt so on the sidelines.
And the longer it went on, yeah,
the weirder it got, and so I just. But the good thing is, after that show, I remember feeling horrible, and just being like, right. Never again. I won't do this again. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
I moved to New York years later with these guys, and we started doing improv. And financially, I had the lowest moment of my life in New York. I was like living in change out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And I just remember having a similar moment of like, oh, right. This is the worst it could ever be.
Yeah.
Don't come back to this place again. Not New York, but the financial, just like the deep struggling. So
I remember going, like the trip to the ATM was like, can I get $20? Like it was, cool, I got $23. I can get 20 out and eat.
If I go to Central Park, there's that one hot dog vendor where I can count out $1 and change.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get 2 hot dogs.
But you had faith in what you were doing.
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
Because
talk about that. So you went to the University of Wisconsin, and what did you study theater? Or
I studied theater. Yeah.
Were you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just to set you on your trajectory here, did you just say, "Hey, fuck it, I want to perform for a living"? And at what point did you do that?
So I just realized one day, I'm wasting all time and money by being here
in college.
Yeah. So this is like this might be my senior year. I had mono during college and lost a semester. So I already knew I was going to have to stay for a 5th year. And I just snapped. And I just said, nope, I don't want to do this. This is a huge waste. And talked to my parents the next day. We were lucky in that a friend of my parents, just through like social life, was one of the deans at the university. So I was able to get an appointment with her the next day and basically walked in and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And she was very kind because I was petrified. I really felt like I was jumping off a cliff.
Yeah. I like it. Keep going.
Yeah. So I quit, got a job at Pizzeria Uno, waiting tables, saved up a bunch of money, and like 6 months later moved to New York because a bunch of my friends from the improv group had already moved to New York.
And so what year did you move to New York?
I moved
roughly
January of 93. I was in New York from 93 to 99.
Okay. And then did you move here?
And then I moved here. Yeah. Basically, I got to New York. Like I said, a bunch of my friends were already there.
Bert Ferahners.
Yeah, the Bert Ferahners. And so we were doing comedy sports at first, but because they had moved there and it took time, there was a long time when there wasn't a show to be done. And we had come from a place of doing 5 or 6 shows a week to suddenly none. So we would, in New York, you go up on the roof of your apartment building.
Wow.
And you can look out at the city. And we would just, like I'm sure you do with all your friends, we would do dumb bits and sing songs and just make each other laugh.
Yeah.
And a couple months into that, we got the improv show actually up and running. But we had all this other stuff that we had been doing. And we said, well, let's do something called the post-game show.
Yeah.
And so that became the Bert Ferahners. So we would do the comedy sports show and then invite the audience for free to stick around. And then we would do like a half hour of sketch material.
Nice.
And it did well. So we then started trying to do it separately, which I think is probably when you started catching us, because that's when we would either rent out the KGB theater in the East Village or do places like Luna, like try and do comedy appearances.
Yep.
And it was, again, like the best.
And now did you have a side gig? Were you waiting tables?
Yes,
were you
I was
running bags of weed? What were you doing?
I mean, I don't think I would do well selling weed, probably. I'd just lose it.
Right.
No, I was working at Pizzeria Uno's, waiting tables, bartending. And then because the sketch stuff started doing really well, Comedy Central came and checked us out, and we got invited to go to Aspen, which used to be a comedy festival. Yeah, that used to be kind of the thing. So that's where we got to go to that. At that time, that's when UCB first moved to New York.
Right.
And we knew there was a Chicago improviser named Bill Cott. Do you know Bill at all?
Mm-mm.
He was on the Dana Carvey show. He was a cast member, really funny improviser. He was really good friends with the UCB people.
Okay.
And so he brought us to, he was like, you got to go see this show.
Right.
So we were there when they started.
Right.
It really took off.
Really great show, yeah.
Bumping
I know,
into
people
I
do
apologize.
that. So, no, it's there. It's there for a reason.
Sorry, Daisy. And that was it. And, that community really started taking off. UCB, Mark Maron, Sarah Silverman, Ross Broccoli, all these comedians just in groups. Really funny. Right. So from that, started auditioning for TV and decided I wanted to come out to LA. So I came out here in 99 for pilot season. And I got a job and I just ended up staying, which was,
What was the job you got?
It was a show on Comedy Central called Frank Leaves for the Orient.
Okay.
It was Comedy Central's early attempt at like a sitcom.
Okay.
But I was lucky and got a job and stayed out here, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, and then Time Belt was, what, a year or two after that?
Coming after that, yeah, because when I got out here, I had improv, and I started going to I.O., and my friends, Rob and Dan, we would do a thing. It was
Rob
really
Trapp, Dan Harmon started Channel 101.
We would do a thing just getting together, and I knew them from improv because they're from Milwaukee, so they were part of the same.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're from the same comedy improv group. They were directly working with Dick Chudnow, who is the guy that spun off from Zaz.
Yep.
So we would do a thing. Schraub would on Sundays. We would have like we'd get together and watch horrible.
And AG was part of this.
Yes,
because he talked about that in here.
Yeah, because AG and I we lived together for part of that. Rob would just sort of call and say, "Okay, we're going to do sequels today, so we're going to watch Star Trek 2, RoboCop 2,
right?
Just a bunch of sequels,
right?
And you have to come in a costume, and we're going to start in an hour. Like it was always very random, but super creative,
right?
Now, I'm not good at that kind. I can, like I said,
you can improvise.
Oh, I improvise, okay, but I mean building the costumes.
Right,
like my time belt was, like I said, tin foil and cardboard.
Right.
Schraub is a genius.
Yeah, okay.
And so you would come and people would be in very elaborate costumes. And finally one time, I don't know if AG said this already, Schraub was like, you know what? we're going to do presentations this time.
Yes.
And that's what changed it. Because that's when he made, I believe, Jaws. Is it Jaws 4?
I don't know. So, but Steve said that you guys would all share one camcorder and, take turns shooting helping each other shoot your stuff.
And Steve edited the first Time Belt. Because I figured I could film things like I could borrow a camera and film things, but in terms of assembling it, what?
Right.
So I would bring all the footage over to Steve's, and I remember I think that was the only time we edited something together, because I think by the end he was like, I don't want to do this again. What are you doing? Because I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know about coverage. I would shoot a scene, like if I was shooting a scene with the two of us, I would use your camera and put it way over there so we were in the shot. And that was it.
Right. As long as you're on the edge of frame.
Always on the edge of frame. Can't cut to anything else.
Right.
It's like 1-2 minute scene with no
funny.
cuts, which, for those screenings is death.
Can't do that.
Yeah, so I learned all that.
But you learned how to do stuff. So you started as a shy person, and you evolved into a performer, and now you're making stuff.
Yeah.
So do you still are you making stuff like on the side? Like, do you shoot little videos and post them, or like what do you?
I'm writing now a ton. I think what happened was I've been lucky. I got a job as a series regular on a Nickelodeon show as the dad on a kid's show, and I loved it because it was a superhero show.
Right.
And that is so fun for me because it's sitcom with a live audience, which they don't do a ton of anymore.
No.
So, and that to
the
me
audiences all zoom in now.
Really?
No,
oh no, I have to get a different Zoom account. But we had live audiences for a lot of the tapings, and it's the most like improv.
It's
the
feedback.
And it's so because they're at a taping of a TV show they want to be at, so the crowd is psyched.
Yeah.
And that's so much fun.
Yeah.
So doing that. I became friends with the creators, and they let me come in.
Mr. and Mrs. God?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Mrs. God, a little handsy.
Right.
Be careful.
Right.
They let me into the writer's room, and I started getting to write. They then created a different show for Nickelodeon that I got to be a staff writer on for 2 seasons.
Okay.
And, all of a sudden when you're in the real deal writing, you're like, aha, this is how it works.
Yes.
So I'm trying to do that now as well as audition for stuff.
Isn't it great? Like, so when I came up, I just wanted to be funny. And so I didn't know how to do anything. I did improv. I did some stand-up. I shot little shorts. And I worked with my brother, Patrick.
Yeah.
And so we started making headway in New York and got to shoot shorts for Lorne Michaels, the Burly Bear Network.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was getting very close to SNL, actually. Like, I was at the table read for Ladies Man.
Really?
Yeah, and so I was getting there.
That's huge.
And then Seth MacFarlane called and said, hey, I sold the show that, whatever, you want to come to LA? And I was like, sure. So, but once I got in that writer's room, now I had never written a half-hour script. I had never written anything longer than a little sketch, and learned so much.
Yeah.
And, because I was just all about jokes, and I had my 10,000 hours in, and so I was very good at writing jokes and pitching character voices and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that was my role, but I got to learn longer format writing, on the job, and to see how it's structured and act breaks and story flow and A story, B story, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just learned on the job, which was
the great way. Yeah, and it's also, I think, being in the position you're in, it's an interesting place as sort of like a joke bringer, because that position is super important, but also the jokes you learn are the most disposable of anything in the script.
Yes,
which is crazy.
Well, typically they need to be organic, but in Family Guy, it didn't fucking matter. It was like, let's do a non sequitur cutaway that has nothing to do with anything,
which is fun.
Of course, it was great, and so, but learning the longer format, and I've since written longer stuff. But, I wrote a bunch of episodes. And,
Oppenheimer, congratulations!
Yeah, I wrote Oppenheimer.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I understand it's very popular.
Yeah, I shit that thing out in a weekend.
Wow!
But
I don't know if you should say that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
But no, so it's weird. I'm at this place now where I really want to make a feature film. I've written one. It's not quite there yet. Right. I shot a pilot with Steve Agee was in like 8 years ago.
How'd he do?
So fucking funny. He played my brother. He played my slacker younger brother.
He's the best.
Yeah, so I'm super inspired to keep making stuff, and so this is just my little jumping off point, bringing friends in who are funny and cool, and we talk about shit, and then afterwards I'm like, all right, I gotta write this thing. I'm too tired from doing the show.
That's kind of how I am now. I'm working on a script now, and I'm like, I have little. I don't know if it's post-COVID. Do you find you're a little foggy?
Yeah.
I find I'm very foggy.
Yeah.
And I used to be pretty disciplined about, it's writing time, and to just, whether or not the work was great, I at least was putting in the time, because I feel like
the 10,000 hours.
You got to just keep sitting in front of that screen. And now I find that I can sit with intention, but then actually writing, it's like a fog, and then I'll have moments where, okay, and then I can crank for like 45 minutes.
You know what I started doing about 10 days ago again? The morning pages, the artist way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting up at 5:30 every morning, and I am like cranking through that stuff.
Okay.
And it really helps because you sort of like meditating. You get all your crap out of your brain, and it sort of just settles into what you're really feeling. So,
are you meditating as well?
Pages. I usually do. This morning I didn't. I ran out of
I can
time.
tell.
But yeah, I'm doing all that. I'm deep into all of the deep stuff. I like. I'm way into like
crystals.
A little bit. I like a little crystal lamp or something.
Sure.
But I'm not. I don't know. I just like getting real.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean,
that's all we got, man.
I had some serious health stuff a few years ago, and it, like anyone, it radically alters your perspective on things. And I'm very much now like, my time here is, without getting dramatic about it.
You can be dramatic.
I maybe would not be here possibly had things gone a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So it makes me very aware, especially having family and kids and all that stuff. It makes you very aware of like, I'm here with Mike today.
Yes.
This is a gift.
This is a gift.
And then later on, like, I'll go pick up my kids from school, and I'm like, I get to see them today.
Every fucking day, man.
It becomes, time. Like you were saying before, like, when I was younger, I had this very strong sense of confidence about acting, about performing. I was like, for whatever reason, at like 14, I knew. And I'm very lucky. My sister, my youngest sister, I have a younger brother and younger sister, she probably didn't really lock into what she wanted to do with her life until she was in her 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true for a lot of people. Some people never figure it out.
Yeah.
I locked in when I was young. So now I kind of feel like, okay, that's fine. That's all good. But it really is more about hugging my wife.
Yeah.
Being here because, when I got sick, I didn't know it was coming. It wasn't. And I had 3 heart surgeries. It's a giant fucking scar.
Okay.
Gross. And it happened sort of during the COVID time. So these last 3 or 4 years have just been a real, for everyone.
Yeah.
Not even my health stuff. It's just been rough.
Everyone has had their own shit, and you certainly have had a heavy dose of it. Sounds like.
Yeah, but everybody has their own thing. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm talking about COVID, but yes, in general, everyone has their thing.
Yeah, and throughout their life, like I think about the stuff like with your brother, and I think about like we're all like these young goofballs, and then that happens, and everybody kind of goes, oh. Like
yeah. My brother died in 2017.
Yeah.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
Caught up with his ass.
It's I can't even imagine how it feels for you, but outside of it, it looks, you feel like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm still moving forward, but everything feels different now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be bad.
No,
you can
absolutely
let
not.
You can let it.
Yeah.
Easily. I think sometimes that's what I get scared about sometimes, like when we're talking about writing and I'm staring at that screen and I just kind of feel like just the cotton balls behind my eyes. I don't feel creative.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I worry, like, am I just getting stuck in, I don't think it's depression. Maybe it is. But I think it's just like the world is so much.
Yeah.
And it takes me sometimes now longer just to come out of a daily funk.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's not good.
No, I hear you. I hear you 100%. I think just one remedy that I might talk about.
Yeah, please.
Just suggest when you're in that place, just have a side notebook and just start writing.
I do.
I can't think of shit. I got to take a shit. I got to go pick up my kid. You know, like the dentist. Fuck, I got to go to the dentist tomorrow. You know, like just write all your bullshit. And then you'll go, and then you'll be like, all right, well, maybe blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, that's what could happen here. And then just, I mean, just shit it out. I mean, literally shit, you know, not literally shit it out, but just get it out.
Yeah. The vomit draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the draft, even if it's just a side thing to clear your head.
I have I think kind of what you're describing. I have a document that I think I just call it brainstorming.
Yeah.
And it's the thing I always open up first.
Right.
Because I have found, I think kind of what you were talking about in terms of learning stuff from being in the writing room. I used to be like, when I was doing sketches, it used to be easier to kind of like, oh, I have an idea for a thing, and I would just start writing it. And you'd make mistakes and go back and fix it, but I would just kind of like forge ahead.
Yeah.
Now I'm way more like, I have an idea, and then I stop after about 10 minutes because I'm like, I got to plan this out. I have to apply what I've learned from the writing room. I actually have to like, before I get to the fun of all the little jokety jokes and stuff, I want to understand where the fuck I'm going with this.
Yeah, that's you can choose the different methods. You know, a lot of people like outlining. A lot of people like whatever. Didn't David E. Kelley just like write? You know, literally on a legal pad. Like I think he would just write episodes.
And the guy, the what's the HBO cowboy show? Not Deadwood. Deadwood. The Deadwood guy would lie on the floor and dictate. And people would write down because he had back problems, so he would just lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling and basically recite the script.
Another way to do it is just dictate to, you know, your whatever app and just have it all written down. I mean, that's a great way because you think about the mechanics of getting it from your brain to your hand to the pen to the page to the next page. You know, like all of that is cumbersome.
Spelling sometimes it will completely derail you.
I know. It's just such an intermediary step, though, unless you're trying to write prose. There's no reason to not, you know what you're trying to get on the screen. Yeah. Just get it out of your fucking head and have a way to remember it. Yeah. And then when you go to shoot it, you know, that's when you got to be for real. Let's take a break for a second.
In today's hectic, fast-paced world, sometimes you run into little surprises. Friendly Farm knows staying a step ahead is now more important than ever. Introducing Friendly Farm Easy Entrees. All sorts of insanely delicious meals, like this lemon pepper chicken. Out of the microwave and on the table in minutes. Friendly Farm Easy Entrees, quick and tasty. Even when you're being stalked by a fucking pervert.
And we're back. Hey.
Great break.
So you and I were just getting deep, you know, just talking about life and, you know, health scare. And, you know, recently, you know, I'm 58.
Okay.
So
53.
Yeah. I just want to live a long time. You know, I'm happy, family, happy wife, happy kids that are grown and growing. And, you know, I just want to fucking stick around. So I started looking at people who are old.
Yes.
I may have said this on here before, but like you look at somebody in their 80s, you look at somebody in their 90s, they don't waste any energy on anything that doesn't matter to them. So I figured I'm just doing that now.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be here talking to you.
Good,
if I wasn't here talking to you, I'd be home hanging out with my wife or doing some kind of exercise or reading a book or writing something, whatever. Like these are the things that I like to do. I really like to connect with good and funny people and and just be fucking real. So that's what I like, and I'm so fortunate to be in a position, thanks to, you know, Family Guy and the Cleveland Show, to have time to do these things.
And also all the crack you deal.
And all the crack I deal. Yes,
I feel like that always gets overlooked.
Yeah. I have made so much money dealing crack, butt crack. As opposed to crack, crack cocaine.
Yeah.
No.
You don't do that.
3 shits and you're out. Was that? Okay. It's the 3 shits rule.
I have that bumper sticker.
Crack. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'm all about. And going to Tower Records, and Blockbuster, and I just miss all that. so much, and a sense of like community. Is this shit coming back? It's got to come back. The people want to be around other people.
I think so, but I think live performance, like we've been talking about, like comedy theaters, improv theaters, even live, just straight drama, they've all kind of suffered. Most places have closed. You know, I think UCB is still here. IO's gone. Second City still exists as a thing, but I don't think it's in LA anymore. You know what I mean? It's like
it's on to third and fourth cities now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Eau Claire. It's tough right now.
Yeah.
But I hope we do get back to it. And also because our culture shifted so much, again, because of COVID and stuff, like we're pretty used to having everything on our phones.
I know.
Including now our Zooms and our, you know, the fact that we're together is unusual.
Yeah. And whoever's watching this is not sitting right here.
Yeah. I mean, I do a D&D podcast and
Dungeons and Dragons,
of course. With Brian Posehn's a super awesome comedian.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's called Nerd Poker. And when COVID hit, we switched to Zoom. And then when COVID kind of ended, we didn't really want to go back to
It's just easy. It's a matter of convenience.
Yeah, well, because everybody has to drive to somebody's house. And
right.
As
I appreciate you driving here.
Happy to. Are you kidding me? I saw Kermit in the lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't like how I parked. He was like,
really?
Yeah.
Well,
can you drink it in between the lines? Yeah.
That's his issue.
Yeah.
You know what? You don't worry about that.
OCD. But it's, in any case, I lost my thought.
That's okay. No, I like being here with you in person.
Thanks.
Dreams and aspirations. Do you have some big thing that you want to do creatively?
Yeah, I mean,
what's your ultimate creative goal?
My ultimate creative goal. I would love to work on. I think sitcom energy is so fun. I always wanted to be on Saturday Night Live when I was young.
Me too.
And then you hear about all the politics and stories and stuff like that. And I suppose that's true of any place.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of being funny with people you enjoy. And it helps now that I'm older. I feel like my brain is now not done, but my brain is much better able to manage trauma and politics and ups and downs than I was, let's say, like 22
well,
or something.
sure, you're cooler now. You're not going to get all fucking worked up over this bullshit because, you know, if you just wait a second, it'll probably work itself out a little bit, and then you can strike.
Yeah, and again, with the health stuff, I had a bunch of heart stuff. I'm like, oh, everything else kind of really, you know, it just kind of...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, early on, you know, in your life, you hear somebody say, like, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff.
Yeah.
And then now that I'm in my 50s, I'm a lot trying to remind myself is that, like, it's totally fine. Because anxiety is my whatever, my demon.
Pull it out.
It's
not you.
No.
Set it aside.
It's, and that's the biggest thing is I realize that for me, my anxiety makes me so uncomfortable that I will try and take action, sometimes too dramatic of an action, to get the relief. That is not how it works successfipally for me.
Yeah.
I have to do what you said, which is you have to just endure.
You can meditate. You can separate your consciousness from your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. My
How's that?
therapist in New York used to describe it as like, imagine emotionally whatever's going on for you now is like a river. So the current might be normal. It might be very strong.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to be a buoy in the middle of the river. He's like, you don't go left. You don't go right. Your job is to just exist no matter what the level of the current.
Yep.
And that has helped me quite a bit because I'm like, I just have to breathe through my crazy.
Breathe. One thing I learned recently, a very wise man told me, if you start tripping on something, your thoughts start to run, just remember in that moment that no thought you're having is more important than your next breath.
Ooh.
So just take a breath.
Yeah.
And make your breath the tide going in and out. And then pretty soon that thought just comes into perspective a little bit better.
That's good for me. Yeah, because like I said, I panicky, and then I feel like I start running a race to see how quickly can I get rid of this feeling.
No, breathe. Breathe. Be the buoy. It's another analogy is the roots, deep roots.
Yeah.
The tree won't sway as far in the wind. So
it won't snap, but it'll bend with the breeze.
Just keep yourself grounded. Yeah, man. Well, anything else you wanna touch on? Or
you were asking about dreams. I think I'm kind of lucky. I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like, I'm with my family.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep going in the business that I love, and I don't know what else you can do, man.
Yeah. Fuck it. You know what? We're all gonna be dead
Pretty soon now.
Well, I don't know.
Oh no.
At some point.
Have you heard about the comet? Oh yeah, guys. There's a comet. Get ready.
Oh fuck. All right. You know what? Enjoy the day. Hug your family. Hug your kids.
Look at ya.
Feel the sunshine on you. Make some laughs. Make some friends. Spread kindness, joy, love.
Yeah. It's a phrase a friend of mine uses sometimes, which is like, it's chaos, be kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I had a spiritual vacation recently, and I ended up buying this T-shirt that said, "Relax, nothing is under control." So, how about that?
I think that is true.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having Lefty Grabs.
Much love to you, brother.
Back
You
at
and
you.
your family. I appreciate you, and I think you're a funny motherfucker, and you're a cool dude.
Thanks, man. I think you're pretty good.
Oh, fuck. All right. That's good enough.
All right.
I'll take that. Goodbye, everyone. Chris Tallman.